Okay, so one of the wait.
Come on, Wings.
Yeah, I'm ready.
One of the social events that occurred during your era in high school was Freaknik, which was started with a picnic at Atlanta University Center. Were you aware of this social event and did it affect you? Did you ever go? Was it a big thing?
Actually, a big part of Atlanta history. The first Freaknik I remember in 1988 was actually at Exchange Park off of Columbia Drive. All right, and traffic was backed up like everywhere, and it was interesting to say the least. The last good Freaknik was about 97. But it grew every year, and some of the stuff that I don't think was healthy, but it was fun.
Did you go?
Yeah.
Were your friends went? How was that experience?
Interesting. Exposed to way too much at a young age, I think. It was just interesting. Well, actually, it was fun from the standpoint of meeting different people and different things. Like even learning about Black college and learning about Greek fraternity, Greek other organizations from that standpoint. So all that part was good. But some of the other stuff that I think may not have even involved the college students and involved a lot of locals, that part was bad. Then someone got shot the second year, and it got to be pretty bad.
Okay. During 1986, the Oprah Winfrey Show came about. Did you watch it? Did your family watch it? Was it a staple in your home?
Yeah, everybody watched it. When my parents, depending on what shift they worked, they watched it and they started taping it actually, because that's what the VCRs. But the biggest show it was funny. Phil Donahue was the biggest show, and Oprah totally knocked Phil Donahue out of history. And I think that Oprah was a whole phenomenon. It was kind of like, I guess Beyonce would be in y'all generation and stuff, but it was like everything Oprah said, it was like truth. Or people took, face value with it. Every artist she had on her show ended up being famous, and it was just Oprah gave away gifts, and it was just Oprah was like a superhero in a lot of ways. So it was a big cultural phenomenon.
So in school, did y'all watch it in school? Did you talk about it?
Nah. Nah, I think we probably talked about Oprah more so on The Color Purple when I was in school than her show, because her show came on after school, and most then everybody was at practice or something like that.
Okay. So then, also during this time period, the evolution of Michael Jackson rose. Do you think this was important to the culture around school and around you and your friends? Were you interested in him and his music?
I wasn't the biggest Michael Jackson fan. I listen to more Michael Jackson now than I probably listened to back then, because I was a big Prince fan, and Michael Jackson won an award over Prince at the Grammys, and I got mad. But my aunt did buy me the Thriller album. I had the Off the Wall album. My parents bought that. The Bad album was pretty good. But then Michael started kind of changing. Michael music is great, but Michael's kind of started changing as far as his appearance-wise. And I think a lot of people saw that, but then a lot of people could identify with what he was doing, because Michael Jackson didn't really have a childhood. So his tours were good. My sister went. I mean, people bought the Michael Jackson jackets, whether they were real leather or whether they were pleather. You know what I'm saying, or whatever. But Michael Jackson it was just a big cultural phenomenon. It was just a big, everybody just liked Michael. So.
Right. We're gonna switch to political.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, do you remember the impact of John Lewis?
Yes.
How did he impact you in your high school time?
John Lewis was big. I mean, as far as when you realize he ended up having getting a cracked skull, at the March on Selma. And also John Lewis, I ended up pledging, we're in the same fraternity. He was one of the reasons I pledged my fraternity. So he pledged at Morehouse. I pledged at March Brown, but he was one of the reasons I pledged my fraternity. I thought that he was genuine, I say, in his stances of politics, first, in particular voting, jobs, human rights, and I think he represented the 4th District well in Georgia.
So how did that affect you in high school, his impact?
I think it affects us a lot. He actually came to speak one year. here. You know, he actually came to speak. I think
During
it was
your time?
Yeah. I want to say it was about 88 or 89.
Okay.
Something like that. And my aunt knew John Lewis, so it was he was very accessible. I mean, I think that the area in itself, the area that he represented, I think they received a lot of benefits because he represented the area well. He stood up for them in Congress. And I think how people don't realize, I think we spend so much time thinking that voting for the president or different things like that, our local representatives that represent us in Congress are really the most important elections. You know, so I think he really represented the area well. And I think it's kind of like, if you look at Adam Clayton Powell in Harlem, I think he represented our area similar to that. Without the Adam Clayton Powell, you know, baggage.
Okay. Do you remember, like, as far as, let's see, hold on. We're gonna cut this part out. It's okay. Okay, so when Maynard Jackson came into play around 1990, do you remember his impact and how that affected you in high school?
Yes, but I remember Maynard's first term as mayor also, but that was during the Atlanta child murders.
And what was that like?
That was scary.
Atlanta child murders.
That was scary. Because they had a lot of summer camps for kids that particular summer because they were trying to, you know, have kids under more supervision.
Mm-hmm.
I remember getting in trouble at home because we used to run through the woods a lot. So I remember getting in trouble at home one time for that because they couldn't find us one time. And that was actually when people played outside.
Right.
And I remember the summer camps, but the summer camps were so funny. My mama kind of found the trick to that one. But they used to have these summer camps.
Just saying.
Yeah. They used to have these summer camps for us. But at the summer camps, some of the counselors didn't pay attention. Right. So we would have like full-scale boxing matches at these summer camps, and that's why I learned how to fight.
Okay.
You know, because all of us went together, so you usually have to get. But and a lot of people I know now, we talk about that summer camp still now,
Right.
because it was at Snapfinger Elementary. Mom would drop me off. That when she was working in downtown Decatur because she worked for Bell South. Would drop off. She didn't let my sister still went to whatever the nursery was on County Road, but
I went there.
yeah, you did.
Yep.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Yeah, right next to Red Lobster.
Nope.
Or that which one you went to?
Side of County Road.
No, you talking about though, yeah.
Yep.
So, but you had to know how to fight, and they would be in that. They wouldn't give you nothing to drink. You can hardly go inside. It was bad, but I know how to throw them hands. So
the child murders occurred during your high school years?
no, that was elementary school. High school, when Maynard came back to be the mayor of Atlanta.
Can I say something real quick, Coach?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be in high school, guys. It's about the totality because things stretch over,
Really?
right? Yeah, it didn't have to be in that exact thing because it's a life experience that informed how somebody moves forward. Does that make sense?
We're gonna do the Olympics.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
you good. So, but that's because it was Maynard, Andrew Young, then Maynard again. And there was a good Netflix documentary about that. But when Maynard came back, Maynard was very instrumental. Not only the Olympics, Maynard was instrumental in black people getting contracts at the airport expansion, big airport expansion. It's about the busiest airport in the world now. He gave black entrepreneurs a real chance. His board of directors, a lot of them were black. The bank presidents in Atlanta bank started being black. So he literally took the city's money, threatened to take city's money out of one bank and put it in another bank, because they were named directors, black directors of their bank on the board. So Maynard was really instrumental, I think, in a lot. But what you saw with Maynard, though, I'm not trying to be too expansive on it, though, was that's when a lot of white people started moving out of the city to the suburbs. They done to the city was almost bankrupt. So Maynard was the mayor during Atlanta child murders. Maynard came back to be the mayor in the midst of the crack epidemic. I mean, it was
In the
bad.
1980s.
Yeah. Early 90s, I'm talking about Thomasville Heights, Bankhead Courts, Bowen Homes, Techwood Homes. There were murders every night. East Lake, there were murders every night. And I think that he had to manage a lot, and that took its toll on him. He actually spoke at my college graduation, too. But that actually took a toll on him throughout those years. Because Maynard, a lot of people don't know, Maynard was a very, very, very intelligent man.
Right.
You know, I think Mandela started college when he was 15 years old. So, I think he gave his life for the city of Atlanta in a lot of ways.
Okay. Do you remember the nuclear attack on Chernobyl?
Who?
Across the nuclear attack that was on.
Oh, Chernobyl? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. That was scary. That was scary.
Tell us a bit about that experience.
Yeah, that was scary because you already had the threat of nuclear war. 'Cause we were just coming out the Cold War in the early '90s, and that was scary because it was like people still working not just on nuclear energy from that standpoint, but nuclear weapons.
Right.
So that was kind of scary. The whole Cold War, I think, was kind of scary for a lot of people, but I think that was pretty scary just from the standpoint of that was Chernobyl. There was a nuclear meltdown in America somewhere. I cannot remember where, but that was scary because it's an instant death and how that area is still kind of toxic. Kind of messed up the ward and people for years ended up having like birth defects and different things like that.
So, with that being globally, how did it affect the U.S. and how did it affect you and the way you looked at things happening outside of the area you were in?
Yeah, I think we had to look at things globally and how when one thing happens in the world, how it affects the rest of the world. Kind of like now with Ukraine, and so that was from it's kind of really made you think about. I think if I remember that particular time, just how events around the world, like I said, affect us, and how there was just life outside of our circle, you know.
Right. You did that. Yeah. We're switching to economic.
Okay, so in Atlanta, as far as the economy, how did the Olympics affect the economy?
The Olympics has good and bad effects. The good, I mean, you know, obviously the world was in Atlanta celebrating. It was very festive. There were a lot of minority opportunities to make money during the Olympics. I think that was good, and we were on the world stage. Southwest DeKalb band played at the opening ceremony of the Olympics. Yeah, so all that was good. The bad was in the years. I think we found out we were getting the Olympics in 1990. Clinton was elected in '92, and they started this program called the Hope 6 program, something like that. But the program is just to tear down housing projects in America, and so mostly white people feel safe moving back to the city. Gentrification, y'all call it now. So they tore down all the housing, in particular Olympic Village was actually Techwood Homes. They tore down Techwood Homes. Techwood Homes was the first housing project in the United States, and it was the most dangerous housing project probably in the southeastern United States. I actually had a friend that got shot in the neck in Techwood. So, and there's a million documentaries on YouTube about Techwood. But they tore down all the housing projects in Atlanta to make the city look more attractive for the Olympics. And I guess it was to cut down crime. But the spillover effects was they were giving people like down payment vouchers for their houses to move to a suburb and out of the city. And I think it didn't work in a lot of ways because crime still ended up being everywhere. I'm talking right now. Give me a second. Okay. So yeah, it was that was the bad effects of the Olympics, and there was a lot of good, like I said, because it didn't lead to the inflation in Atlanta they thought it would, but a lot of people ended up moving to Atlanta because of the Olympics, and that's why we're full now. So.
Okay, so do you remember the establishment of like Chick-fil-A?
Yes.
How was
God's
that,
chicken. I don't eat chicken now, but I will eat Chick-fil-A from time to time because it's God's chicken.
Right.
No matter how much money you have, or how much power you have, you can't get Chick-fil-A on Sunday. That's like real facts. And so Chick-fil-A, the customer service at Chick-fil-A is just like the best thing ever. I mean, you know, you get in a line with 100 people, you still don't get your food in 5 minutes.
Right.
So, but Chick-fil-A has always been like that. And Truett Catholic actually gives a lot of money to a lot of good causes. So I remember the day they opened up Chick-fil-A on Wesley Chapel. I think it was my junior, my junior year in high school, March or April. I was driving to school. My friend dated a girl that worked at Chick-fil-A. and we went there, and it was just so good. I still remember that day. I still remember going up to the counter and ordering my Chick-fil-A.
So when y'all weren't supposed to leave campus, you get
That was after school. This was after school.
Oh.
After school.
Fix it up, fix it
Now,
up.
yeah, it was after school. Not to say I never did not leave campus to go to
Y'all
Chick-fil-A.
ask y'all counterculture
Yeah,
questions?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
We
But
did that yesterday.
But we didn't talk about these.
yeah, you didn't say anything about Chick-fil-A. But it was a Chick-fil-A at South Cal Mall, and then it was a Chick-fil-A on West Chapel. The South Cal before they had good ice cream too.
So was that like a thing for Southwest students, like to go to Chick-fil-A after school or go
Yes,
during
yes, it
lunch?
was. But you had to have a little money.
Right.
You had to have a little money. That's for everybody. One for everybody. You had to have a little money. Just-
So like with them being closed on Sunday, was stuff like that new to y'all? Like,
Yes, because we were spoiled. We want to know why they couldn't be
Right.
open. On Sundays.
okay.
Everybody ate Chick-fil-A. Everybody ate Chick-fil-A.
Okay, the savings and loan scandal. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Tell us about
yeah.
it.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
The savings and loan scandal was I think a lot of people actually made money off the savings and loan scandal. Because they're basically scheming people and claiming assets they didn't have. I think I'm talking about the right scandal. Is that the right one?
So you're talking about in general, is this national?
This is
national or Georgia?
United States. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. People they were, and that a lot of people end up losing their life savings because of that.
Mm.
All right, because what they do, you put your money in a savings account, they invest that money into something else. So basically, they're making money off of your money, but they wasn't during the Reagan era and the George Bush era. A lot of these businesses were unregulated because they were making money. So that's the difference between the Republicans and Democrats. Republicans, a lot of stuff is unregulated, so a lot of people are getting away with a lot of stuff. And so then the chickens just came home to roost, and people began to retire, and they had no money. So and then the whole scandal, people made money though off of people, and some people end up getting arrested for that. So I vaguely remember that.
How does
Okay.
that affect the economy now? Like, do you see that carrying over into the 2000s?
No, more so we're still. You talking about now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, most things we're still doing now is still recovering from the housing scandals in the early 2000s when they were. They were. What happened was people would bid on houses, but people give fake bids on houses, and people use documentation to say it made more money than they were. Then the loan people would, in the documentation, say the house was worth more than it was. All right. So then we entered the recession, and people began to try to like either refinance their houses or buy houses. The bank wouldn't loan the people the money because the house wasn't as worth as much as they thought the house was worth. So they were upside down on the loans, and a lot of people end up losing their houses because they didn't ever get adjustable rate mortgages. So 1 month your rate may be 2.9%, another one may be 10.5%. And that's a lot of difference in money, so a lot of people end up losing their houses. So I think we kind of still suffering from that some.
Do you remember like the economy, like even globally? After you said y'all had just got out of the Cold War and stuff around that time.
And the economic recession.
Gas was cheap in the early 90s, but some stuff changed when Clinton became president in 92. Because we had Republican presidents for 2 years with Reagan, 2 terms with Reagan, 1 term with George Bush. So the economy was going to pick up then, in a way. But I think gas was a lot cheaper. There were a lot of grants to go to college. Like, when did you start college?
2000. So
Young.
yesterday we were talking about that.
Oh, you young.
Shut up. You said when I graduated from high school.
Yeah.
2000.
You young.
Remember we looked Zell Miller. I told you guys Hope started. It was approved. I want to say in 90 or 91, and then I know by class of 93, I believe was the first class to receive.
Yeah. Then they expanded to private schools. Then Bill Clinton. I said George Clinton. Bill Clinton had all kind of grants to go to college. And I think
I don't know when Pell started.
yeah. Now Pell started the Great Society.
Was the Great Society?
But Clinton increased the Pell Grant. The Pell Grant hadn't been because actually Reagan tried to cut it out. Bill Clinton increased it. Yeah, Bill Clinton increased it Then he added the SEOG grant, Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant. He added that. Then the state started adding, like with the lottery, started adding different HOPE grants and different things like that. And it was easier to go to college. So I think the idea was if people were going to college, people were graduating, they would make more money, they contribute more to the economy. Right. So I think that was a big thing.
Was there anything else you wanted to add socially, economically, or politically about things that you remember during your time period? Stuff that's different from now or that's similar to now? How they affect you?
The crack epidemic did a lot more damage to our communities, especially in particular in the city of Atlanta, than we would think they did, because it spread everywhere, even in a lot of white communities it spread. So I think economically, you had people literally graduating from high school, not graduating high school, leaving high school, and going down the streets making $100,000, $200,000 a year. These are teenagers, making $100,000, $200,000 a year. So that was interesting, like very, very interesting. That was bad. Then you had
Do you remember like the start of the crack epidemic? Like were you ever pressured in high school, or was it a thing throughout high school?
Yes, I had a friend that me and my friend still talk about this today. He was actually starting over me. It was so funny. And then he dropped out of school to make $200 a week. Yeah, so that was interesting. I had a friend that got shot in the neck.
What's the inflation, based on inflation, what would that be today? The $200 a week, so they get some type of.
$200 a week? Now probably about $1,000. Yeah, probably about $1,000.
I'm gonna give you some context.
Yeah, probably about $1,000. And drugs were everywhere. But then they started the mandatory minimum laws, and then people started going to jail. Right. Like again, people started getting life in prison. People started getting the
in high school?
Yes. People, I know about the RICO Act. There was a guy named Terry White. Alright. They just call him Youngster. Alright. How do you want me to get it? Okay.
Go ahead.
They just call him Youngster.
It's
Education.
a whole history project.
His grandfather was cool with my grandfather. My grandfather ran numbers.
Right.
Alright, he was cool with my grandfather. Youngster was 19.
Your grandpa ran numbers?
Yeah.
You don't know what that
Like
is.
math?
That's illegal.
I know, but I'm saying
illegal
like,
lottery.
Your granddad did, but then you talking about you not good at math. You can run numbers too.
Not keep up. I don't like formulas. Anyway, so Terry, they just call him Youngster. Youngster was 19. Youngster had a Rolls Royce at 19. Okay. He used to run around Mechanicsville, Vine City, and Peoplestown. Right? Peoplestown. So he dated, and this is our black history right here now. He dated Bill Cosby had 2 daughters went to Spelman. One went with my sister. I knew her. I didn't know the other one. She graduated high school in '98. So she would have been the one at the Cosby Show that was like Denise age.
Right.
That was Terry White's girlfriend. Terry White got her strung out on drugs. Bill Cosby ended up getting Terry White arrested. And then he ended up going to jail for a little bit. He got out. I graduated in '99 from college. He got out around '97, '98. He opened up a computer store. He was smart as on the what. Opened a computer store right by the AUC and made a lot of money. Yeah, but he used to date Bill Cosby's daughter. He's the one that really got her strung out. And that was I went to high school with the guy that started Magic City.
He went to Southwest?
The daughter went to school with me. And so it was a lot. There were a lot. Then at that particular time, you had people like Bobby Brown that moved to Atlanta.
Right.
They had a very bad drug habit. You had a lot of people, rappers that were here, and that stuff spread everywhere, like wildfire. And that really started the whole culture of a lot of things in Atlanta that Atlanta is known for.
Such as?
I'm talking about from strip clubs to chicken wing places where people are laundering money. I can name some restaurants people laundering money, but I'm not. So it was a lot that went on. Then if you went to the most popular club at that time was 112. If you went to 112 in the VIP, you would see the chief of police of Atlanta. You would see all of it was connected. Also during that time, there was a very big, and I had a friend that got caught up in this. and she ended up being a social worker. That was a very big thing in Atlanta with child trafficking and stuff. And so, but there was so many big political people that were involved in it. There was a lady named Judge Hatchett, and she ended up having a show. She was a judge in Atlanta, and she kind of was exposing people, and all of a sudden she resigned. She had to resign from the thing in Atlanta. Had a nice TV show.
Was it hard to stay away from it, like with your friends? Were you ever peer pressured into doing drugs or doing stuff?
Yeah, I just played ball, and like I said yesterday, I saw so many people in my family. I saw so many people in my family that were affected by drugs or were victims of drugs, and other different people. I never wanted to do it.
Alright.
It just wasn't my thing. I saw
So did you lose friends because of the, you didn't
friends. Nah, not friends. Like I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. Trying to think. Nah, I don't think I lost no. Nah.
Alright. Appreciate that.
That about wraps it up.
Yeah.